Greetings. You're watching Septum Sen vs. the World. I'm Septum Sen, and I'm here with Kotobuki Jake.
Hi.
And we are here to keep you informed with the good commentary that you would expect from movie bloggers. Matter of fact, I'm wearing my particular shirt for this. So we are ready to roll.
Yeah.
Now, I have here the list of all of the Oscar nominees. So, I wanted to address one point, then we'll go over the nominees, and then we'll do a slight discussion about what our thoughts are on what's going on this year, who got nominated, who got left out, things like that.
And we know we're a few days late on this, but, our timing of getting together and everything, a lot of people have already said a lot. There's a lot still to be said, I think, about this race. And, of course, all movie geeks have something to say about the Oscars, so this is our chance for it. But he had an interesting little...
I do. And I will admit, I won't be doing a lot of editing with this particular one, just because I want to get it up as soon as possible. I will be uploading this tonight. This is actually Monday, and this is coming up Monday night, because I want this out as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. When we do our next list, it'll be the week before Oscar weekend, so that I can do a little bit more editing on, and we can do a little bit more, formal presentation. So, let's get started. So, with me, somebody commented, that the Oscars only have two things that determine nominations and wins, and that is one, how much the Academy voters are bribed. So how rich that studio and movie in the movie is, basically, and two, politics. Though I agree that it is part of the equation, I don't believe it is all of the equation, and I will tell you why. This here is just a little bit of research I did, and which would tell me which are the most powerful movies of the year, financially, from powerful studios that should have at least gotten nominated. And I don't believe that at least any of the movies have. Did either of these get... I don't think he's got nominated for Best Actor.
The first one's definitely up for a few categories.
Not for that one.
No, definitely not.
So we're going to start with the Best Actor and Actress. This would be the ones that have the most financial power this year. The people who earned the most throughout this year.
And that's not what I meant by the first. I was looking at his list here, just in case you're wondering.
So, I'm going to start really at the bottom, go to the top of my list, because Best Picture's got to be like, the last thing.
Of course.
So, these two would have the greatest pull because they have the highest bankroll, obviously, so they'd also be there. So, obviously. Best Actress would have to go to Emma Stone. Mm-hmm. Now, what was Emma Stone in this year that was really poignant? She's a good actress.
Well,
so,
her big Oscar bait film, which fell short in the final poll, was Battle of the Sexes. And then, of course, she started the year strong on her Oscar-winning role for La La Land. Yeah. So she was definitely out there in people's view.
So we're looking a little bit plausible here.
Yeah. And definitely, a little more so than the second one. But I'm a little surprised she's at the top of the list for earnings.
Yeah,
but,
for 2017.
When he first mentioned this, I thought he was going to say Gal Gadot for Wonder Woman. Because if you're talking about a movie led by a woman, Gal Gadot would win in a walk by this definition. Yeah.
So now we go to Best Actor, which would be Dwayne Johnson. Because he is the best paid. So therefore, he's got to get the win, right?
Actually, you've got different sources. I saw earlier this year a list that said that he was the second highest earning person in Hollywood, and Mark Wahlberg is number one. So the star of Transformers: The Last Night could have been your Best Actor winner by this. But instead, we got the star of Baywatch.
So, I then looked at the movie rankings for the year about world earnings.
Yes.
And then, of course, I took the top foreign film, documentary, animated feature, and, of course, the number one earner of the year. Mm-hmm. So, the one that would get Best Foreign Film would be Wolf Warrior 2. That is the highest grossing foreign language film of 2017. And I'm not sure.
None of the ones that are up are big earners.
Well, I
yet.
want y'all to pay attention to these nominees and see if you hear any of these mentioned here.
Yeah, a couple of the nominees in foreign language film are well known. The Square has been a big art house hit, but I'm not sure that it's made much at all here in this country. Yeah.
So, best documentary. This one could be, one of those. It's a documentary called Born in China, which looks interesting. I've read up a little bit about it. I think it could be a good winner. I mean, it did make the most amount, but it could just be that it appeals to the right demographic.
Right.
So now, best animated feature. Despicable Me 3. And you know what's funny is that Despicable Me 3 has outdone many animated features.
Even Pixar cannot compete with the Minions when it comes to bank.
So this should be the winner of Best Animated Feature this year. You can check to see if it's on our list when you get to the final list. I don't think it's going to be there.
Yeah. And he did not mention director. He didn't do director. But if I were to throw out a guess based on earnings, Rian Johnson would win director, and probably Patty Jenkins would be the also ran.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people would be thrilled by. Jenkins, in particular, has been considered a snub this year. So
last but not least, Best Picture. Which would be The Last Jedi. Many of you could predict this. Some of you are like, yes, that is Best Picture. Some of you are like, no, boo.
It does not occur.
But that is the best. That is actually the best financial picture of 2017, and still earning, by the way. So let's go on to the list. We got a lot to cover and very little to go on. So we're going to run through these nominees, keeping our commentary short until we reach the end, and then we'll backtrack and discuss. So, visual effects.
And I cannot believe when we did our predictions that I forgot Blade Runner 2049.
Which is
that
our
was
first
a
one.
shoe-in for visual effects.
With John Nelson, Paul Lambert, Richard R. Hoover, and Gerd Nefzer. I'm sure I got that wrong.
Yeah.
Then there's
Nerf
Guardians
herder.
of the Galaxy Volume 2 with Christopher Townsend, Guy Williams, Jonathan Faulkner, and Dan Studick. Kong, Skull Island.
That one caught me by surprise.
Stefan Rosenbaum, Jeff White, Scott Benza, and Mike Mianardas.
Maynard, yeah.
Star Wars: The Last Jedi. See? It's up there.
There you go.
Ben Morris, Mike Mulholland, Chris Corbold, and Neil Scanlon. And finally, War for the Planet of the Apes, Joe Letteri, Dan Lemon, Daniel Barrett, and Joel Wist. So that's visual effects.
And I've actually seen 3 of these. I've not seen any of the Planet of the Apes one, the current series, but that was almost a given for that.
So,
The Guardians, the only comic movie in this category. Really?
yeah.
It should have gone. And honestly, Thor and Wonder Woman were both stronger than Guardians, but they were all good.
That's alright. I've seen Guardians.
And Kong was a surprise. It was one of the lesser films of the year, but I'll admit the effects were pretty damn awesome in that movie. So, yeah.
But I have seen so far one of those nominees. One total.
And Star Wars the visual effects are top notch, so it deserves that.
So with my poor count this year, I'm going to do a running total of how many full I've seen this year. We'll see how it goes. I have a feeling you've already beaten me for the year.
Well,
for
I've
just
already
this thing
seen 3.
So costume design. Oh,
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, and I have a hold on Blade Runner, but I don't know if I'll see it before the show. Yeah.
So with costume design, we have Beauty and the Beast with
Hold that.
Jacqueline Duran.
Oh, she's up for 2?
Darkest Hour with her again. Phantom Thread with Mark Bridges.
I called that.
The Shape of the Water with Louis Sequeira, Victoria and Abdul Consolada Boyle.
A art house film with Judi Dench that got a lot of buzz, but didn't really sustain it going into the Oscars. I think it's up for 2 total.
Yep.
Now, it is kind of interesting. Darkest Hour and Beauty and the Beast are the same. And they're both the kind of movies that I think in the last video I said dominate this category. Mm-hmm. You got a fantastical movie with big flowy gowns and all that stuff, and then you have a period piece. You know, and they're definitely... Darkest Hour got a lot more nods than a lot of people expected in that, but yeah.
So let's talk makeup and hair.
The category that the Oscars hate for some reason.
And by the way, costume design, 0. My total is still 1.
I can add Beauty and the Beast to the ones I've seen.
So you got a total of 4.
I guess.
Alright, so makeup and hair. Darkest Hour by Kazuhiro Tsuji and David Malinowski, and of course Lucy Sibic. Victoria and Abdul, Daniel Phillips, and Lou Shepard. Mm-hmm. And finally, Wonder, Arjan Tweetin.
Yes.
And another...
I've not seen any of these. Now, Wonder is a super popular book that I want to read, but I didn't think of the movie as an Oscar contender until they actually got into the awards races, started getting makeup awards.
Yeah.
But, interesting bit of trivia here. You'll enjoy this. Darkest Hour... Okay, and I'm going to comment more on this later, but I was looking up something today for tonight, and I came across this nomination for Kazuhiro Tsuji. And I apologize for my previous ranting on this subject. I didn't realize he was nominated in this category. But Tsuji, this is his 3rd Oscar nod. Rare for Japanese people to get a lot of nods, so good for him, definitely. But do you know what the other 2 were for? He has an Oscar nomination for Click. And an Oscar nomination for Norbit.
Yeah.
And now Darkest Hour. You see a little imbalance in the kind of films there?
So now one I know you like. You probably heard most of these if you haven't heard all of them.
I actually have not listened to some of them yet.
Surprising.
I know.
We've got Mighty River from Mudbound by Mary J. Blige. Mystery of Love from Call Me By Your Name. Sufjan
Stevens, yeah.
Remember Me from Coco. Kristen Anderson Lopez, Robert Lopez. I know you've heard that one.
Yep.
Stand Up for Something from Marshall, Diane Warren, Common.
That's a pairing, isn't it?
This Is Me from The Greatest Showman, Benj Pasek, and Justin Paul. And I've heard a lot of good things from Greatest Showman musically, if anything.
Right. I think that's its only nod, isn't it? And a lot was made of, it's the same music team behind La La Land, which may be one of the reasons they snuck in there. I honestly thought Detroit would get a token nod in the music category, but I'm guessing Marshall kind of fills that same vibe that the Academy likes to... And Common is a great lyricist and a good singer and good actor, actually. So, but paired with Diane Warren, that's weird. But the Academy loves her. So,
you've seen one of those.
Remember Me, Coco, this is a new one for me that I've seen. I had called that. I still say that is guaranteed to win. Not just because it's the common theme throughout Coco. It's a good, solid song, very memorable, and it's from the songwriting team behind Let It Go. So, now one other one I do want to comment on, Sufjan Stevens, I've never heard of him. But a couple of the people I work with are like, oh, I love him. I'm going to have to see the movie now. And I'm like, okay.
All right.
So I'm going to have to listen to all these songs before we do our next video. But I can definitely say Remember Me is a solid song.
I will probably hear the songs. It's one of the easiest categories for me to get to because you can find them on YouTube usually.
The only thing is, they're supposed to be judged in context to the movie.
Yeah.
And sometimes that cancels out really good original songs that play too late in the credits. But Yeah.
Like the one from Avengers. Gosh.
No, that played. I don't know why that was canceled out. I think that it wasn't strictly commissioned for the film, but it's still, that was some BS there. Okay, the other music category.
Yep.
Speaking of BS,
okay,
big BS here.
Now, so far the count is you've got an extra one on there. So how many does that put?
I think
you
I'm up to 5,
and I have got 1 so far, and 0 in that category. So next category.
You weren't even trying.
Next category.
Original score. We'll be adding 1 more for me, but 2 more nominations.
So we've got Dunkirk,
Yep.
Hans Zimmer, Phantom Thread, Johnny Greenwood, A Shape of Water by Alexandre Desplat, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, John Williams, of course. You got to have a John Williams one. It's Oscar season. 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. Carter Burwell.
Okay. This is called original score. How in the holy hell is John Williams still getting nominated for Star Wars? I mean, it's a great score. Don't get me wrong. It's an iconic score. But it's, 40 years old now? He is adding a little bit to each film, but it's not an original score. It pisses me off. And it pisses me off even more because he's had, I think this is number 46 or 47 for him. Yeah. He is like the most nominated person in Oscar history. And he's won, 4 or 5 awards?
Hey, it's not...
He doesn't need any more. He's the Meryl Streep of the music branch. And he actually puts her to shame with his nominations.
He's got a good chance of winning, too.
Yes! And look at the people he's up against. Alexander Desplat is a phenomenal scorer. Carter Burwell is phenomenal. I think this is only the 2nd nod ever for Carter Burwell. Carol was wonderful. Mr. Holmes was better, but Carol he got a nod for. Fargo's one of the best scores ever written. Miller's Crossing is almost as good. This is only his 2nd nod ever. Yeah. And he's probably going to lose to John Williams. And now, I will admit, Hans Zimmer did a great work for Dunkirk.
Yeah.
I don't share the Academy's love fest for Hans Zimmer. And if I had to nominate him, I would have nominated Wonder Woman instead of Dunkirk. But that is a good, solid, original score that deserved a nod. And I can't really comment on Shape of Water, Phantom Thread, or 3 Billboards because I haven't seen them and I haven't heard the music. But I know enough of Burwell and Desplat to say they probably deserve to be there. But there were some phenomenal scores overlooked. Mary and the Witch's Flower and Coco were phenomenal scores. And I consider both of those major snubs in that category.
So, so how many does that put you up to? You've seen.
Well, like I said, I added 2, Dunkirk, and we already got Star Wars.
Yep. I have added 0. So we are still at 1 for me for the year.
Production design.
All right, production design. Beauty and the Beast.
Call that.
Sarah Greenwood, Katie Spencer. Blade Runner 2049. Dennis Gassner, Alessandra Corazora. Darkest Hour, Sarah Greenwood, Katie Spencer. Dunkirk, Nathan Crowley, and Gary Fettis. Finally, Shape of Water. I want to say Shape in the Water.
Shape in the Water. Very different film.
Paul D. Osterberry, Jeffrey A. Melvin, Shane View.
Well, I've seen Beauty and the Beast and Dunkirk, but again, we've already noted both of those. And again, this is a category in which Coco and Mary and the Witch's Flower were gypped. They never nominate animated films. Never, but they should. And I think I saw some others. Honestly, I thought Lady Bird was really good at capturing the 90s. I mean, it's a period piece, technically, and it did a really good job of it. And there were some other good ones, too. But Dunkirk definitely was And Beauty and the Beast, the production was great. They did a really good job of capturing the look of the original. In fact, too good a job.
Let me make sure I've got... Oh,
What's going on?
oh no. I was skipping ahead.
Ah.
All right.
You don't want to skip the sound categories, do you?
Oh yeah, I'll get those sound junkies after me. So we're going to go with sound mixing next.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you're going to be hearing some of these names over and over.
You might as well just say them both together because they are the same.
Let's see, you got Baby.
Damn.
Actually, yeah, they are.
They are the same.
All right, so sound editing and sound mixing. Baby Driver, Blade Runner 2049, Dunkirk, Shape of Water, and Star Wars Last Jedi. For both. And
Different nominees in each one, but you know.
Didn't you see Baby Driver?
No, I'm like second in line. I'll be seeing it this week.
Ah.
So I can comment on Baby Driver next time, theoretically. Dunkirk and Last Jedi are still the only ones I've seen. Now, I think we talked on the last week's video about these categories. They're categories that most people don't really care about. Yeah. But I will say this. I meant to say it last week, and I will say it now. My dad actually did some sound mixing. He was into music production. My youngest brother's kind of sort of followed in his footsteps. So I've gotten to see from like a over-the-shoulder view, that stuff's hard. Mm-hmm. It may be really hard for the average person to care, but that is something that takes skill.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of admiration and respect for these people in these categories. They're just not very exciting because unless you know the craft, it's really hard to even have an idea what, you know, the average viewer just, you know. So they're just like, oh, I like that movie, you know. But as I said before, I think mixing is more on just making sure everything fires off, everything syncs up. And editing is more like making sure it sounds right. And in that respect, Dunkirk and Star Wars both deserve to be here. They are both excellent, solid films. They really do have great sound. I would have liked to have seen more animated features in these categories. And I'd really like to see more of the musically oriented ones, like The Greatest Showman or Band-Aid or some of those in the mixing category. But... And as I said before, Detroit, the editing was really good in that one. But it's, you know, these are probably all solid choices. I'll let you know next week if Baby Driver lives up to the others.
So, film editing.
Yes.
Speaking of Baby Driver.
There you go.
With Jonathan Amos and Paul... Matchless. Then there's Dunkirk by Lee Smith. I, Tanya. See, something new coming up here. Tatiana S. Riegel. The Shape of Water. Sydney Walensky. Mm-hmm. And 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. John Gregory.
So... Incidentally, you may notice a theme here. Certain movies are getting a lot of love this year. But Dunkirk remains the only one in this category I've seen.
I really want to see Dunkirk and the 3 Billboards.
I want to see all of these. I mean, especially Shape of Water and 3 Billboards. I really do.
So
foreign language.
So let's see if our fellows see which was the one there that says Wolf Warrior 2. Let's see if that gets.
I don't believe there are no East Asian films here. There is, depending on your definition, because apparently Wikipedia does not consider the Middle East to be Asia. We do have a Lebanese film, but otherwise no Asian films.
So we got The Fantastic Woman from Chile.
Mm-hmm.
The Insult, Lebanon. Loveless, Russia. On Body and Soul, Hungary. And The Square, Sweden.
Appropriate that there's one in this category called The Insult, since I maintain that this whole category is an insult to foreign films. But they really, really, really need to... The category is broken and ancient and needs to be completely overhauled.
Well, the Oscars in general are an American institution, just like the BAFTAs are a British institution. But
Yeah.
it needs to. So,
But I'm pretty
yeah.
sure this is the only major award that follows this submission process.
Yeah.
The BAFTAs, if I'm not mistaken, do have multiple nominees from time to time from countries because they're not submitted. I could be wrong about this.
Yeah.
But I know that I've never most of the time you don't see listed with the country.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that really there shouldn't be a foreign film thing anyway. This should be kind of all of them in the world and not just the United States. But that's just me in
Well,
general.
I think a foreign language film is a good plan because it helps to shine a spotlight on something that wouldn't get in other categories. But it's one of those things, animated feature, documentary feature, they tend to be pigeonholes that these things get shoved into so they can ignore them everywhere else. And that's just stupid. But anyway,
So let's get to the ones that most people ignore.
the short films.
The short films.
Yeah.
Best live action short films. DeKalb. All right. Elementary with for Reed Van Dyke. I guess Dick maybe because it's not got an E at the end.
I don't know.
Have you seen any of the foreign films?
No.
Okay.
Now, I did mean to comment when we did our preview. I was trying to think of two. The Fantastic Woman and The Square were two of the ones I was trying to think of because there were those two, and there was one more that was left out of the nominations that people were talking about. And I've read a little bit about The Square. Supposedly, it's weird as hell.
Well, so is Dogtooth.
But supposedly this one's good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Dogtooth was a bad nomination.
Was a comedy.
Bad nomination.
So, continuing our live action short films, The 11 O'Clock by Darren Ciel and Josh Lawson, My Nephew Emmett, Kevin Wilson Jr., The Silent Child, Chris Overton and Rachel Shinton, and Watu Wote, All of Us, by Katja Benrath and Tobias Rosen. So, have you seen any of these this year?
No.
No, neither have I. Well,
Moving on.
Moving on. Best documentary short subject, Edith and Eddie, by Laura Chikoe, Thomas Lee Wright. Heaven is a Traffic Jam on the 405. I should see that.
I do like the title to that.
Frank Stafel? Heroine, with an E optional. Elaine McMillan Sheldon, Karen Sheldon. Knife Skills, Thomas Lennon. I just picture some guy with a knife going.
I wonder if that's the same. I wonder if that's the actor.
And then Traffic Stop by Kate Davis and David Heilbronner.
I need to find out if that one's by the actor Thomas Lennon, because if so, that's interesting.
So, have you seen any of those?
No.
All right, we're moving on. I know you've seen at least one of these short
As I've said before, shorts are so annoying because sometimes in the big cities they'll run them right before the Oscars. They'll run the nominees. But before the nominees, you gotta be lucky as hell or go to a lot of film festivals to have even seen. There's a 1 or 2 or 4 a year that the wide audience gets to see. But not many. And you've saved the last one for later. Okay.
Well, I didn't.
Okay.
The people I pulled this from saved it for later.
Documentary feature.
Best documentary feature. Abacus, Small Enough to Jail. Faces, Places. Icarus. Last Men in Aleppo. And Strong Island. Well, I guess that China one isn't on here. But,
So you just got tired of the names, huh?
yeah, whatever. I can't see them as well from that.
They should have you as a presenter at some of these nominations.
Have you? Have you seen any of these?
I have not. As I've commented before, Faces Places has gotten a lot of press. It is very, very highly regarded. I've heard a lot about it for several months now, but I don't know when I'll get to see it. Icarus has also gotten a lot of press, and so has Last Man in Aleppo. I've heard a fair bit about those. They all look very much worth watching, but none of these are ones I'm strongly familiar with, and I haven't gotten to see them out, hopefully before the show.
So let's go to cinematography.
Okay.
So far, my total is still, 1. So we've got cinematography, Blade Runner 2049.
Of course.
Darkest Hour.
Mm-hmm.
Dunkirk. Boy, that sounds like I'm on a repeat here. Mudbound.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that's new.
Mm-hmm.
And Shape of Water.
No, we already had one for Mudbound for the song.
Oh,
but the only new one for me, nothing's new. I've Dunkirk. But this category does have some good commentary worth noting. First of all, Blade Runner, Roger Deakins is the nominee, and for Darkest Hour, Bruno Delbonnel. Both of them are very talented filmmakers. Cinematographers. Very talented lensers. Hoyt van Hoytema's work in Dunkirk was pretty damn solid. That's the only one I can really comment on. But this category is historic. Do you read about this year?
Mm-mm.
The whole women first movement going on right now has had an effect on this year's Oscars. Rachel Morrison is the first female ever nominated in this category.
Yeah, right.
So,
good job.
Yeah. So Mudbound actually was a really big one this year for diversity in the overall nominations. It put Mary J. Blige in twice, and it gave us a female cinematographer nominee. So that's pretty cool, and I do need to see that movie. But yeah, I just wanted to comment on those. And, I think I've seen work by Dan Lawson, but nothing comes to mind.
So now we get into the categories that people start to care a lot about.
And then we'll go right back to one they don't.
Yeah. So we've got the screenplay, original and adapted screenplay. So we'll start with original, which is...
I will be adding some here. 3 of them, actually.
I'll be adding 1.
Okay.
So
you'll be up to 2.
Yep. The Big Sick. Emily V. Gordon and Kumail Nanjiani. All right. Get Out by Jordan Peele, which is the one I saw, by the way. So it's 2 now. Lady Bird, Greta Gerwig. The Shape of Water by Guillermo del Toro and Vanessa Taylor. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Martin McDowell. So... yeah.
Martin McDonough.
I can't.
McDonough. And this is notable. One, I'm adding 3 movies here. I saw The Big Sick, Get Out, and Lady Bird. And they were all excellent. They all had really good screenplays. They all deserve to be in the discussion and arguably deserve to be here. And this is also notable as a very diverse category. We have, first of all, Big Sick is basically an autobiographical screenplay. Emily V. Gordon is played in the movie by Zoe Kazan. Kumail Nanjiani plays himself, but the screenplay is largely based on their own history. So that was kind of interesting. And then in terms of overall diversity, you've got male and female writers here. Jordan Peele, of course, a black dude. Martin McDonagh's an Irishman, if I remember correctly. Kumail Nanjiani's Indian. So you definitely have a pretty good... and Guillermo del Toro's Mexican. So you got a pretty good assortment there. And they're all... the 3 I've seen are all excellent. The 2 I've not seen, I really want to see.
Yes.
I really do. And they come from people who have a history of originality. Del Toro, of course, is the guy behind Pan's Labyrinth, Crimson Peak, Pacific Rim. I mean, he is known for originality. And then Martin McDonagh, 7 Psychopaths. I don't care if the Oscars liked In Bruges better. I loved 7 Psychopaths. But seriously, that's a cool category there. There were some awesome ones that were left out in the cold, but it's a solid category.
So next is adapted screenplay, which I had another one for that one, by the way.
Yes, me too.
So, Call Me By Your Name by James Ivory.
He wrote that? I'd forgotten that. That's weird.
The Disaster Artist Scott Neustadter
Starter.
and Michael H. Weber.
Mm-hmm.
Logan by Scott Frank and James Mangold and Michael Green.
One of the most surprising and awesome nominations of all.
And my number 3 so far.
Yes.
Molly's Game, Aaron Sorkin.
Mm-hmm.
Mudbound, Vigil Williams, and Dee Reese.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I was surprised about was seeing the Disaster Artist on here.
Mm-hmm.
I would have figured it would have gotten a total snub just because
the movie it had so much buzz, and people were more angry at James Franco than they were at the movie.
Yeah, but it could have tainted the whole movie because of
true.
it. That the movement is not known to.
Now,
you know.
one thing notable about this category. In the original category, The Big Sick was the only one that was its only nod. But adapted, they made room for 3 movies where this is their token nod. The Disaster Artist is one of them. Logan. Again, I say if the Academy did not despise the makeup branch, Logan would have been a shoo-in for makeup. I don't know that it was a shoo-in with 3, but it would have been with 5. And there were some other areas where it could have gotten a nod, but it didn't. And a lot of people were pushing Jessica Chastain for Molly's Game. But it ended up having to make do with just the adapted screenplay. By Aaron Sorkin, of course it got a nod. I really want to see Disaster Artist and Molly's Game. And again, here we go, Mudbound. Dee Reese is, I believe, the director of Mudbound, and this was like her token nod. You know, a lot of, again, female filmmakers, and a lot of people thought she got snubbed for director. But Logan is the one I'm adding in this category, because I did see that. It was good one.
So now we get to animated short, which you get to add another one.
I do! Yes! So, Lou was great!
So we have Lou, which is Dave Mullins and Dana Murray. Mm-hmm. And then we've got Dear Basketball by Glenn Keane and Kobe Bryant.
Think about that. Kobe Bryant is now an Oscar nominee.
Yes. Garden Party, Victor Kyer, is that right?
Kyer?
And Gabriel Graprol. Negative Space, Max Porter and Ru Kuwahata. Mm-hmm. Revolting Rhymes by Jacob Schoh and Jan Lacroix. Alright. Or is it Jan? Oh well. In any case, Jan. Jan
Lacroix, I think it is. Anyway, so yes, Kobe Bryant is now an Oscar nominee. But yes, Lou was the animated short that was paired with Cars 3. And it was really good. Pixar has a long history of really good shorts. Yeah. And this definitely stands up there. Visually, it's not as strong as a couple of the others they've done. But they're generally quite good. But it was fun to watch.
My main reason for getting Cars 3.
Although, when we get to the next category, we'll get to that in a minute.
So, animated feature. I actually have a couple things to say about this once I'm done, but
right.
I've
got so much to say on this.
But first off, The Boss Baby. I'm not even going to bother dignifying that with anything further. The Breadwinner, mm-hmm. Coco, Ferdinand, and Loving Vincent. I think you mentioned Ferdinand last time we were talking.
Yeah, I hate to say this. I actually went to some depth on this category. I somehow totally forgot Loving Vincent. It was almost a shoo-in. It's the first film ever done entirely in oil paint.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's got a great cast, too, and it's about Vincent Van Gogh, and it's supposed to be good. And it's the kind of movie the Oscar would eat right up, you know. Oh, but then again, this is the same branch that sent Steven Spielberg a letter demanding that he explain to them how The Adventures of Tintin could qualify. So, I don't know. In a sense, maybe it's surprising that it got in. But I actually saw The Boss Baby this week. And I will say it's not a bad movie. So
is it better than Mary and the Witch's Flower?
Hell no.
Or,
Okay, now I said it's not a bad movie. This is where I wanted to back up to. I also saw Cars 3, and I saw the Lego Batman movie, and they are both better than The Boss Baby. Mary and the Witch's Flower and In This Corner of the World are a whole other league. It's not even in the same league. The presence of the Boss Baby and Ferdinand I have not seen Ferdinand, in all fairness, but from what I've seen of it, the presence of these two is an insult to anime. The fact that there were 5 anime qualified, I've seen 2 of them and can vouch for them. I know enough of a third, and even a fourth, frankly all of them, to know that they're all better than the Boss Baby. It's an insult to anime that the Boss Baby is in this category. That said, it's a fun movie. It's worth a watch. It's a good movie. It's not quite Oscar level. So this was not only one of the bigger surprises, it was one of the most egregious errors. And the fact that Mary and the Witch's Flower did not get that nod is one of the worst snubs on this entire list.
Yeah.
Without question. Yes.
Well, for me, I'm upset just because this is the first year in a long, long time. Matter of fact, I think it's actually the first year since they started the category that I have not seen a single nominee on the list. Not a single one. And that's
I've
very
seen
sad.
2. And I guess we're adding Boss Baby to my tally now.
Yeah.
But Coco was phenomenal. And Coco will win.
It will win. I mean,
And that's probably... They probably said, well, what the hell? Coco's going to win, so we don't give a damn what else we nominate. But that's not how the Oscars should work. Now, I will say this. I really want to see The Breadwinner, and I really want to see Loving Vincent. And I will watch Ferdinand, but...
In all fairness, they usually do nominate some pretty interesting stuff. I mean, shoot. I mean, Cat in Paris was good.
Cat in Paris was subpar.
It was
good, but
it was very stylish, though.
It was, but it was not Oscar level. And neither was Boy in the World. I'm sorry, but...
Now we get to the big boys, the giant guns, because we're going to blow this off.
Yes.
So, let's see if I'm going to add to my tally of 3. So we have Director, Dunkirk by Christopher Nolan. Get Out, Jordan Peele. Lady Bird, Greta Gerwig. Phantom Thread, Paul Thomas Anderson. And The Shape of Water, Guillermo del Toro. So, no, I didn't add anything.
Well, again, I've seen Dunkirk, Get Out, and Lady Bird, and you saw Get Out. So you've added some nominations at least. And I am, good job Greta Gerwig, and good job Jordan Peele. Gerwig is the 5th woman ever nominated in this category. She's the first woman since The Hurt Locker. Catherine Bigelow was for that.
Yep.
I think Jordan Peele's the first one since...
Catherine Bigelow also won in that category.
She did. She's the only woman who's won in that category. So Gerwig could join very rare company. Peele is the first one since... First black guy since...
I don't know. With Paul Thomas Anderson, she's got some stiff competition. I've heard a lot behind the red.
Anderson's an outlier. A lot of people were surprised he got nominated.
I've heard so many good things about the Phantom
Oh
Thread,
yeah, but I mean, look at these other films though.
It's a stiff competition.
I'm surprised Christopher Nolan got in. Honestly, Dunkirk is a pretty impressive film, but it's not his strongest film. Ironically, though, I think it's his first ever nomination, which is like he's overdue for one. He should have been. He should have been nominated for The Dark Knight.
I'll admit, if he does win in this category, it'll probably be to make up for previous losses. The Oscars do that,
and all of these could. I don't know if any of them have. P.T. Anderson, I think, did he win for There Will Be Blood?
Yes.
Okay, so he might have won. Del Toro, I don't think has ever won.
That's possible.
But
yeah.
a lot of people would want to make
these
up
are
for.
overdue.
I mean, because
And then, of
Pan's
course-
Labyrinth was phenomenal. But
Greta Gerwig, though, is the person to beat.
but still, look at that list. You got two regular white dudes, Christopher Nolan and Paul Thomas Anderson. But then you got a Mexican black guy and a woman.
Yeah.
That's probably the most diverse the director category has ever been. So props to the Oscars on that one. And a lot of people... What's going on?
Bully, sir. Bully, I say.
A lot of people thought Patty Jenkins was a snub for Wonder Woman. More on that in a little bit. And again, Dee Reeves for Mudbound. But, at least Gerwig got in there. And Lady Bird is a great movie. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
So, supporting actress.
Mm-hmm.
Mary J. Blige for Mudbound.
Mm-hmm.
Allison Janney for I, Tonya.
Mm-hmm.
Leslie Manville for Phantom Thread.
A lot of people were surprised at that.
Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird. That
Mm-hmm.
seems to be the favorite, if I recall. And
Uh,
Octavia Spencer for Shape of Water.
I think it's between Allison Janney and Laurie Metcalf. And again, Lady Bird is the only one I've seen. But Metcalf does great. She nails that role. She is just about the most frowniest, most unpleasant mother you could think of. But she's still, in her way, a supportive... You know what I mean? Like, she's always there with something negative to say. But she and Janney plays a mother, too, in I, Tonya, and supposedly a much more destructive one. But again, we got some diversity here. You got Octavia Spencer, Mary J. Blige. Leslie Manville is like an out of left field contender, but people said she was solid in Phantom Thread. There were some really good ones that could have made this category, but I'm curious. I want to see all these. I really do.
So let's go to supporting actor.
Mm-hmm.
Willem Dafoe, The Florida Project.
Mm-hmm.
That's a new film to put up there.
And actually, a lot of people were shocked. That is the only nod for the Florida Project. It's been getting a ton of buzz. Now, Dafoe was a lock for this role. He is a great actor who oftentimes coasts on his...
Yeah.
He plays Willem Dafoe, and he plays it so well. But every now and then, he does a phenomenal performance. And Oscar often notices when he does. But the film just... It fizzled in terms of every other category. It was just, that was the one.
So the other newbie to the list is Christopher Plummer's All the Money in the World. So we're adding that to the list.
I saw a comment that someone said that they should have taken him off of that list, had the other four and added one, and given him his own honorary Oscar for Best Hail Mary pass. Because if you haven't been following, and All the Money in the World, Kevin Spacey originally played that role. And the whole scandal with him broke about a month before the film was set to be released. And Ridley Scott took a few days to figure out all the ins and outs, canned Spacey, brought back Michelle Williams and Mark Wahlberg, and hired Christopher Plummer, and reshot all those scenes in about 10 days, and had the movie ready for release in a month. And that's impressive.
That'd be impressive if he won. That would actually...
And it's also historic because Plummer is 88 years old. He's the oldest nominee ever in an acting category. And he remains the oldest winner. I think he was 80 when he won for beginners. Like 80, 82, something like that. So, that's pretty cool. You also have Woody Harrelson and Sam Rockwell for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing. And Billboards. And Richard Jenkins for Shape of Water. All 3 of them are great, underrated actors who are really underrated at the Oscars. I really want to see both of those movies. But it's almost between Dafoe and Plummer unless one of the other 2 movies gets a sweep. Which could happen. And if it goes to 3 Billboards, it's going to Sam Rockwell. A lot more people have been going on about him than Harrelson. But
So,
Yeah.
now we're getting into the lead.
Mm-hmm.
The lead actress, Sally Hawkins, The Shape of Water.
Mm-hmm.
Frances McDormand, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Boy, they seemed like... Okay. Margot Robbie, I, Tanya.
Mm-hmm.
And okay.
Saoirse, I think is how
Ronan.
you say it.
Lady Bird. And then Meryl Streep, The Post.
Because
in
of
her
course.
annual, her annual nomination.
Oscar. Yes. And The Post is up for nothing else. Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks, doesn't matter. Nothing. We're just going to give Meryl her token nod.
Didn't you watch The Post?
No, I want to. No, so again, I'm adding Lady Bird. Is already there, but I believe Margot Robbie is a first-time nominee. Sally Hawkins, I think, is up for her second, maybe third. No, I think 2. I think was she up for Happy Go Lucky? And I know she was up for Blue Jasmine. McDormand, of course, won Oscar for Fargo, classic film, and she's had a couple more. And Ronan was up for Atonement and for Brooklyn. And every one of her nominated roles was great.
Brooklyn, the widely ignored film.
And Meryl Streep is up for her 21st nomination. She's only won twice, but she gets nominated every year. And she probably did great in this film.
She does a great job.
She usually does. It's not always the one that should have got it, though. Her nod for Into the Woods was like, what the hell?
Yeah, they just did that so they could give her a nod.
But she was great last year in Florence Foster Jenkins, so she deserved that nod. But Hawkins supposedly she plays a mute. So the Oscars love that. They love when someone can act without speaking.
So let's see. Emma Stone didn't make the list.
Nope, not this year.
Right,
but she won last year, so she needs a break.
So let's see if The Rock makes the best
I'm
actor.
going to say... we're not going to do predictions yet. Yeah, actor.
So, Timothy Chalamet for
Chalamet.
For Call Me Your Name. Daniel Day-Lewis, Phantom Thread. I believe that's his swan song.
That's what he says.
Daniel Kaluuya. I wanted to say Kahlua for Get Out. Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour. And Denzel Washington for Roman J. Israel Esquire. What?
Okay.
No, Rock?
Nope.
They had a Fast and Furious.
Well, again, we have some minor diversity here too. Denzel is trying his best to become the next Meryl Streep. This is, I think, his second nomination running. I have to admit, I knew all 4 of those. Gary Oldman was a lock for this category. And Daniel Day-Lewis, since it's his swan song. Yeah, he has said he is done with acting after this. But I had heard of Roman J. Israel Esquire in passing, and I don't think anyone was putting it forth as an Oscar film. That was a left field nod. I saw that, I was like, huh? But it's Denzel, and he's awesome, so that's probably why. But
let's see here. He could have... Jumanji's 2017.
Oh, yeah.
So he could have gotten Jumanji.
And that's probably part of the reason why he...
or Baywatch.
Yeah.
I was right, though. The Fate and the Furious. He could have gotten a nod for that.
Actually, yeah. Okay, so that's why he's at the top of the list. Because he started the year with Moana. In the middle of the year, he had Fate of the Furious, and then he had Jumanji.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And then he also had Baywatch.
Baywatch is
Yes.
just, yeah.
Oh, and his series Ballers. I mean, that's a really popular series, too. So
okay. Any one of those. Baywatch.
So Oscar, what were you thinking? Why not The Rock? Okay, so Best
Picture. Call Me By Your Name. Mm-hmm. Darkest Hour. Mm-hmm. Dunkirk. Mm-hmm. Get Out. Mm-hmm. Lady Bird. Mm-hmm. Phantom Thread. Mm-hmm. The Post. Mm-hmm. Shape of Water. Mm-hmm. And 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. No, The Post was up for 2.
Yep, 2.
It's one of the very few films that's been up for Best Picture and one other. The Blind Side. Your favorite film ever, A Serious Man. And a few others have done. Okay, and again, I've seen Get Out, Lady Bird, and Dunkirk. That's it. And incidentally, for Best Actor, it was Get Out. That was the only one. So, no surprises there if you've been paying attention. Not Phantom Thread. The Shape of Water is up for 13 awards. It's the second highest number ever.
Yep.
3 films still hold the tie with 14. La La Land, Titanic, and All About Eve. And I think there have been, 6 or 7 that have had 13? So, impressive for that one.
Makes me sad, though, that I have only seen 3 nominated films this year.
That was your full total, huh?
That's my total.
Wow. Yeah, and I've not seen nearly enough.
I could see War of the Planet of the Apes if I wanted to, but...
You should. I mean, you own it, right?
I own it. But
So watch the damn thing. But anyway, see, that's a... But anyway...
It's the only one I own out of the group that
I need to watch that whole... The only reason I haven't is I haven't even watched the trilogy, and I don't want to start at the end. Well, same thing with the Fate of the Furious.
I've never seen any of them.
I need to see the Fate of the Furious to find out the biggest snub of the year.
Yes, exactly. I still say he was snubbed for Baywatch.
Jeez, we have plenty to say on that on a Razzie one. But anyway, like I said, we did have some overall commentary too, and one of the biggest ones is, again, shout out to their attempts at diversity this year. They did have a lot of multicultural diversity. Mm-hmm. They did have a lot more women behind the camera actually being acknowledged.
Yeah.
But there were still some big gaps. And this is one I come back to again and again, and I'll harp on it. And I have to say, the mere fact that The Boss Baby got nominated is as much evidence as you could need. But look at the nominations overall.
Yeah.
This Oscar, obviously they're trying for diversity.
Yeah.
So the fact is, this year proves, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that they are racist against Asians. Because I did the count. If you count the Middle East, there's a wiki page that keeps track of Asians, and for some reason they don't count the Middle East. I don't know why. And you look on any map, it's considered part of Asia. Yeah. There's one nominee in the documentary category, and there's a foreign film from Lebanon, if you count the Middle East.
Depends on where in Russia as well, really, if you think about it, because part of Russia is kind of Asian.
Most people count that more as like Europe and whatever. But anyway, so you have total Robert Lopez, who is half Filipino, is nominated for Remember Me from Coco. Kazuhiro Tsuji, nominated for Makeup and Air. He's Japanese. What was it? Ryu Kuwahara, nominated for the animated short Negative Space. I think there was one more that I am forgetting. Oh, yes. Ramsey Ann Naito, who is nominated for The Boss Baby. And Kumail Nanjiani. The only one remotely could be considered a marquee above-the-line name for his original screenplay for The Big Sick. That's it. That's it for people of Asian descent on this list. And there were a lot of nominees. A lot of nominees. And I will maintain again, Mary and the Witch's Flower was reamed in both animated feature and original score. And In This Corner of the World was reamed in animated feature. A lot of people were pushing for Hong Chow for supporting actress for Downsizing. All the more surprising, Downsizing was shut out since it's an Alexander Payne film.
Yeah.
So, good job at your attempt, Oscars, but it's not enough. And I will continue to take personal offense as long as the anime is treated as...
Well, it's almost like...
You know.
I mean, you gotta keep in mind, times are changing.
Yeah.
There was one time when comic book movies in general would have no chance. But, of course, The Dark Knight helped with that.
But look at this list for comic book movies.
Hey, we got Logan.
This is one of the big comments. One of the biggest surprises that is on everyone's lips as a snub. Wonder Woman didn't get crap.
I don't think that it was a big snub, in my opinion.
I do. I think it was... The visual effects were better than Guardians, and they were solid. And it should have gotten at least a couple other little ones just to acknowledge what a big film it was.
It's more like... I don't think Gal Gadot really deserved the nod for Best Actress, which
she
is
was
what a
great.
lot of people were saying.
She was great, but she wasn't quite on the same level as some of these ladies, I have to say. But I do think that the idea that Patty Jenkins could have been in the running for director is a viable idea. But and again, this is almost every year since the Academy has gone to a field of 5 to 10. Mm-hmm. They always pick 9. And it's like they're thumbing their noses at all the films that didn't get it. Look, we have one more slot, but nobody's getting it. You know? But you saying comic books, we got Guardians is up for visual effects and Logan is up for adapted screen. Now, props there.
Yeah,
this is the first comic superhero movie ever to get a screenplay nod, so that's awesome. But seriously, not just Wonder Woman, Thor getting Bupkis was wrong. That was one of the biggest snubs of the year too. Thor should have gotten something. Visual effects, costume, production design, something.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It's interesting, but at least it's somewhere. It used to be 0, now it's a little bit.
Right.
Animated feature used to not exist, and they used to snub animation entirely.
Except for original song.
And now it's got a little bit more. Even though this year I feel like they really kind of dropped the ball in animated feature, but I guess I guess they're just so used to it, either going to basically just going to Pixar, with occasional exceptions for when Pixar is off. Like if Pixar had only released Cars 3 this year,
it would have gone to Boss Baby.
God. But that's the thing, is it's kind of sad.
And again, I think we covered this last week, but I do think that somehow the animation branch, I do think that their politics plays a huge role. I think they pick 1 or 2 G-Kids films a year on purpose. G-Kids has had a slate of between 3 and 6 films every year for about the past decade, and they seem to get 1 or occasionally 2 of them in there. And that's it. And they had so many great films potentially this year. They only had 1 of the anime, but they also had a French film that I was surprised didn't get the nod. So I really do think that category. And like I said before, they wrote Steven Spielberg a letter saying, you need to prove this mocap film is animated.
Yeah, well.
So that was a few years back. Maybe they've changed since then. I hope.
Yeah. It's something.
But seriously, though, the Academy, the editing branches need to wake up and say, we need to give animation more love.
Yeah.
Because what is animation but editing and drawing? And they should have it. I think you said a character design category.
Yeah.
But just like either that or an actual animation category, they should do that. It would be awesome. It would be great. And it's like I said before, I like to acknowledge craft. I like to acknowledge skill where it occurs. There are glaring blind spots, whole sections of movies that cannot be acknowledged because of the way the categories are set up.
That would be great.
Yeah, it would be.
Well, with that, because our time is definitely gone quite a bit, and we will see you again the week before the awards where we will give you our nominations. Now, Kotobuki Jake here will have seen probably even more nominees by that time. He'll be able to take that personal flair and that personal ideology to work. Me, I've got a unique attempt for my brand of I haven't seen crap this year. And we're going to see how well mine pays off. I've got some research lined up, and I'm going to have my own nominations for this particular time.
Like I said, as far as my wait list at the library goes, I will have Baby Driver within the week. And there is a chance, albeit a slim one, that I will get to see Roman J. Israel Esquire. And a slightly slimmer chance that I will get to see Blade Runner 2049 and Darkest Hour before the show.
Hey.
That's not guaranteed, but there's a chance. I think there was one more, but I can't think what it is right now. And I haven't even looked into the documentaries and foreign films. I may get lucky and find a couple of them are available, so we'll see.
All right.
Yeah.
So we will see you on the next one. Oh, and comment. Tell us what you thought about the nominations this year. Did you feel all of the people that you wanted got up there? Do you feel Wonder Woman got snubbed? Do you feel that the anime of this year got snubbed? Or do you believe Boss Baby is truly the winner?
Or, just in general, your comments and whatever. Yeah. We both believe James Franco got sunk by the politics around what happened with him.
I actually think that James Franco would have done more if he actually had not got that stuff around him.
And there's probably some other stuff too along those same lines. But we'd love to hear I'm always curious to hear what people think got snubbed.
And do you feel now? Again, I'm going to recount. Do you feel that these got snubbed for their categories?
Yes.
Last Jedi for Best Picture. Despicable Me 3 for Best Animated, which was probably as good as Boss Baby. It did make more money than
and
Boss Baby.
There's a small chance I'll see that before the Oscars, but we'll see.
Born in China for Documentary. Wolf Warrior 2 for Foreign Feature. Emma Stone for Best Actress. And Dwayne The Rock Johnson for Best Actor.
Now, I will be seeing Battle of the Sexes before the Oscars, and I'm looking forward to that.
So you might be able to tell us.
Yeah. So we'll find out.
With that, we'll see you on the next one.